Hello, everyone. This is fun, isn't it, Janine?
Yes, it's very fun.
It is. What are we doing? Ignore the person who you think you can see down at the bottom just for a minute, because
So
we're
we,
here
yes.
having fun today.
Before we get into who our special guest is, today we are here to talk about season 1 of Cobra Kai. Morgan
Yes.
had not seen this series. We just finished all the Karate Kid movies for Morgan's first time watch on our podcast. Morgan hasn't seen on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. And so we decided let's have Morgan watch the show for the first time and see how he feels about it after having just seen the movie. So today we are talking about season 1, and we are joined by Baron Zemo.
Baron Zemo, apparently.
You know I can cause the Avengers to break up anytime that I like, and I can also cause Janine to make Morgan watch a show that I have been telling him to watch for years. So thanks for having me, guys.
Well, you're very welcome, Baron. I'm thankful you're going to stop doing your German impression, to be honest, which is quite nice.
He's Circavian, not German. That is a
So,
gross stereotype.
Daniel Bruhl is German. I hope, unless he's Austrian. Anyway, we are here today to talk about season 1 of Cobra Kai in its many facets. Yes. Because, as Janine said, I've recently just watched the Karate Kid for our Morgan Hasn't Seen series, and we thought we'd do this on the YouTube channel as something a little bit different, something a little bit fun. Janine's going to lead proceedings, which is nice, isn't it? That's nice. Yes. I like that.
And we are joined by Nolan Dean, the co-founder, the original co-founder of the It's a Wonderful podcast show.
You certainly are. So you can experience you can expect nonsense today.
And a huge Cobra Kai fan. He actually kind of started this whole Karate Kid train. He loved the show. He wanted Morgan to watch the show. Morgan, of course, was hesitant to watch the show because it was popular, and he doesn't like to do the popular thing.
Obviously.
But with a little pushing and me suggesting us watching the Karate Kid movies for the show, I thought that would lead perfectly into watching Cobra Kai series. So here we are.
I would like to point out that I only hadn't watched Cobra Kai because people were talking about it. It wasn't a case of that I was never going to watch Cobra Kai. It's just that people were always talking about it, and I'm stubborn. That was a half joke.
Yes.
But it's mostly actually accurate. Nolan gets very annoyed at me.
We did it, Nolan. We got him to watch it. So we're here with season 1, and 2 and 3 will follow with some more fun discussions to come in the future.
Morgan, I'm going to make Janine make you watch some weird shit.
It's the power of Baron Zemo.
Well, Baron Zemo can make people do many things.
Yes.
He can. But Baron Zemo is no longer with us. Not that he's died, but Baron Zemo has turned into Nolan, which is nice. But where do we want to start then, Janine? With Cobra Kai season 1. So this is just a discussion of season 1 itself. I have not yet watched season 2. That will be coming next week.
Yeah,
that's how we're doing these videos every week. We will do the next series. Patrick's already coming in with the jokes in the chat. I like that. There you go. I'm going to put it on the screen because it was such a good joke. We're the best around, and nothing is going to ever keep us down. Patrick,
I will give a shout out to my friend Ankit Oja, who is in the chat right now. He is one of my old friends from Dubai, who I used to go to movie premieres with.
Oh,
there you go.
One of my best friends, one of my oldest friends, and he's going to be very, very happy in the chat, as we can see right now.
Yay.
Can.
Yes,
hello, Ankit. Welcome.
Hello.
Love the energy. The energy is great. So, Janine, where are we starting this lovely discussion?
So, let's start with the characters of Cobra Kai.
Okay, let's go.
So we are reintroduced to characters that we met in the Karate Kid series, while also being joined by some new characters. So how did you feel about Johnny Lawrence, who is kind of the protagonist of this version of the Karate Kid franchise as a whole?
It was clear to me after the first Karate Kid, and to be honest with you, after the start of part 2, when Kreese got all violent and unnecessary towards Johnny, that it wasn't actually kind of entirely Johnny's fault that he was so aggressive. It's the whole kind of nature and nurture thing, isn't it? He was nurtured by Kreese to become a particularly aggressive karate champion of Cobra Kai. It's clear now in the Cobra Kai TV show that he's actually not all that of a bad dude. He's just had a rough go.
Yes. I mean, and can you see that he would have leaned on Kreese because he didn't really have that great of a father figure with his, very angry Ed Asner stepfather.
Which is very, very strange to see. I always think of Ed Asner as quite a enjoyable, likable kind of guy.
I didn't know that was Ed Asner.
It is Ed Asner. It's a ridiculously old Ed Asner.
Yes.
Man, the voice of Granny Goodness to now Cobra Kai.
Yes.
I did look. Frankly, I kind of hated Ed Asner. Which you're supposed to. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yes, I can see why Johnny would have leaned onto Kreese, because he was kind of the only father figure who gave him any sort of attention.
And do you see? Does it make sense to you that he would be someone who is kind of stuck in a certain period of time where he doesn't know anything about technology, and he doesn't really care about any of those things, and he's just kind of stuck in his glory days, and
because he's been affected so much by it. Yes. And by the, I mean, you would think, how could you let a children's, I mean, it's not a children's, is it, but a youth karate championship of the general area. It's not like a state thing. It's not a national thing.
All Valley.
It's literally just the general area of a few schools and a few karate dojos. But it's made, that loss has defined his entire life to this point. When we first meet him in the at the start of Cobra Kai, you can see why it has, because it was the only thing he ever had that he was good at, that he could put his everything into. And the fact that that was kind of violently taken away from him, particularly by Kreese, obviously, not necessarily by Daniel. Daniel just kind of happened to win. I don't think I suppose he does to an extent blame Daniel. But I think he comes to learn that it's kind of less Daniel and more Kreese, and then right at the end of the season, Kreese obviously shows back up looking about as evil as this guy on my little board.
Nolan, how did you feel about Johnny? Was it believable that this character would be in this place now?
It's kind of funny because I remember back when How I Met Your Mother did this whole episode revolving that Danny was the real bully of the Karate Kid, and they had this whole joke with Billy Zabka in there as well.
Yeah.
And I've always loved the idea that a villainous character, it's the hero of their own story, and nothing does that better than this show. So with Johnny, I really love where they pick up Billy Zabka in this. He shows that you do not need to be a complete saint to be a compelling character. Yeah. And from how Johnny was in The Karate Kid, I never imagined that I would root for him as much as I do in this show. There is so much great character work that goes into him. And honestly, I am surprised that Billy Zabka has not been nominated for an Emmy for his role in this, if I'm honest. And Ankit is describing exactly what Morgan is. Thank you.
I felt like I had to put that up. I felt like I had to put that one up. I suppose that's a compliment.
So you're hating Terry Silver, and you sound a little bit like a British Terry Silver.
Don't you dare even compare me to Terry Silver. Hate Terry Silver.
Picture you in a hot tub right now with a ponytail and everything.
My favorite part of Cobra Kai season 1 was when Johnny Lawrence didn't know who Terry Silver even was. In that weird karate all
Yeah,
valiant
because
eating.
he wasn't there for that stuff.
He wasn't. But it was just like, what is your relationship to this Mr. Silver? And he's just like, I don't know who that was. I have got no idea who that is. Please let Cobra Kai back in, please. And they did. I love how much this plays onto Johnny's side, though. I love how much you root for Johnny,
Yes.
even after one episode of this show. It is the perfect opposite of the first movie, because you actually get some explanation of Johnny's side of the first movie as well,
and how he interpreted the situations.
to hear the first Karate Kid from the mouth of Johnny Lawrence, Daniel really seems like a horrible dude.
Yeah.
A very, very horrible guy.
And that's kind of where this whole idea kicked off. I do agree with what Nolan said about being able to sympathize with Johnny and having somebody with these kind of black and white gray areas and not being wholly good or wholly bad, because that's just how people are. So he's not a saint, but there is heart with him. And obviously we saw that after the first movie, where he was kind of not wanting to do all the things that Kreese was telling him to do.
Yeah.
So I do like that we get this gray area where he will beat up a bunch of kids. But you kind of feel like they deserved it.
Of course the kids deserve it. Wait a minute. Wasn't one of those kids that terrible dude who was Daniel LaRusso's boyfriend?
Or the daughter's boyfriend? Yeah.
Oh, Daniel LaRusso, not Daniel LaRusso's boyfriend. That would be a totally different storyline.
That would be Johnny Lawrence. They're basically angry exes.
That's true. Daniel LaRusso's daughter's boyfriend, who frankly was atrocious
the
person.
Worst. Yes.
Faraz Mufana in the chat, Daniel did
Faraz.
illegal kick him in the face, which is true. And Johnny brings it up to Daniel's face. And let's be fair, I think William Zabka has actually aged better than Ralph Macchio.
So let's move on to Ralph Macchio and Daniel LaRusso, the character we spent probably the most time with when we were watching the films. So how did you feel about where Daniel is now? Did that feel believable to you? Did it feel like, he would be a car salesman and have this perfect life and be like this big wig in the valley and all of that?
Well, Janine, after the Karate Kid Part 3 and Daniel LaRusso's sleazy salesman tactics and jittery behavior,
yes,
why have they taken that Daniel LaRusso and brought it into this TV show now? Because there's a little bit of Part 1 and Part 2 Daniel there, especially when you get later on in the season, he's having more kind of meaningful conversations with his family and things like that.
Yeah.
But when he's just like right at the start shouting the word bonsai and selling luxury cars and being all successful,
chopping prices.
He seems, I can understand why Johnny Lawrence is driving around going, ugh.
But I did love the line where I think who brought up Mr. Miyagi's little trees, like the business that we saw in the third movie.
Yeah.
And him saying, it was a bad investment, but he thought it was a good idea at the time. So they do address that was probably not. Yeah.
But every customer gets a free bonsai tree.
Yes.
Which I mean, bonsai trees, they aren't cheap, are they? I mean, I don't buy plants. Clearly, that's Morgan's area of expertise.
Yeah. How expensive is a bonsai tree in the UK?
I don't know. I've never tried to buy a bonsai tree.
Would you buy one now after liking the Karate Kid so much?
Possibly.
Have you tried to steal one from the side of a cliff?
Yes.
Like they do in Karate Kid Part 3.
I've tried to steal one from the side of the cliff and nearly killed Teen Witch while I was doing it. That's exactly what I did.
Top that.
I can't top that. I can't top that. It's not even Teen Witch who says top that. It's the other one, who I forget the name of. Oh, dear.
But, I think how we last saw Daniel in this series definitely would lead into him being kind of a fast-talking car salesman. And like you said, we do get more of the Daniel that we really liked in the first two films with his family, and how he
I
even
do
is
like all that.
with Johnny's son Robbie, and he has some good moments with him as well. And how karate is important to him. I liked seeing him kind of get back into karate, and really still holding all of the teachings of Miyagi really strongly with him. So I liked all of that.
He's not forgotten the importance of Miyagi. Miyagi's legacies is absolutely shadowing over all of Cobra Kai. The show, I mean, not the dojo itself. I don't think Miyagi's got anything to do with what Johnny's doing with Miguel and what's his face, Hawk, and Nicole. Is it Nicole? Is that what she's called?
What? Who?
Oh, no, Aisha, I think her name is.
Aisha. Why did I think she was called Nicole?
Maybe that's the actress's name.
Who's Nicole, Janine?
Yeah, I don't know
What
where
am
you're
I saying?
getting
What am I thinking of?
Nicole from, but
I don't know why I'm getting Nicole from either. I'm an idiot.
So how did you feel about Daniel Nolan?
As someone who grew up watching The Karate Kid and really identifying with Daniel LaRusso at that time, I wanted to punch him straight in the face in the first episode. I don't know if it's the like working class bit of me, but somehow seeing him have all the success and kind of rubbing it in people's faces a little bit made me feature more to what Johnny's feeling in the whole story.
Yeah, like you definitely sympathize with Johnny when they first see each other again, and he's very smug and like, he can't even tell him you look good. He like starts, you look good to see you. Like,
The show does a phenomenal job of just flipping the manipulation of the story from the first Karate Kid. Because obviously in that it's totally from Daniel's perspective. Johnny's totally the villain. But the ideas of the two of them and the characters of the two of them and the story of the two of them is the exact same. But it's just been... You're just seeing it from the other way now.
Yeah.
And there's no difference.
I do love how Danny is as a father, though. One thing. Can someone kick his kid's ass, his son's ass?
Yeah, I don't like
that little brat.
Terrible.
Oh my gosh. At the country club. Oh my gosh.
I mean, the fact they're at a country club in the first place, really the only good thing that's ever happened at a country club is the movie Caddyshack. Which is true, I think.
There's that scene I really like when he comes back and Sam's having a pool party with all her friends. And you see a little bit of the humor with Ralph Macchio where he's like, okay, take off my bathing suit. No, not out here. Not out here.
You do. You get it. I think Ralph Macchio still got it. Yeah. Definitely. And he can still play Daniel LaRusso like that.
But yeah, even in that whole situation, like he is, does the whole parent thing, he blows up, but then he's able to kind of go to Sam later and talk to her about it and have like a nice conversation. And he even kind of like apologizes for kind of embarrassing her in front of her friends. And, most parents in that situation would have just be like, no, I'm the authority. You can't do this. What I say goes. But the fact that he kind of goes back to her and talks to her about it and they have like a nice, respectful conversation about it, and she's open to tell him personal things with her friends and boyfriends and things she's dating. I think showing that just shows kind of what kind of parent he is, that she's able to kind of talk to him about these things and not just kind of rebel. Yeah. So I liked that they set up, how he is as a family man.
It's a very sweet relationship he has with his daughter as well.
Yeah.
It is, because she's clearly grown a little out of karate. Because her and her dad obviously were very
bonded over that early on.
Yeah, very much good father-daughter relationship based around Miyagi karate,
and we do learn that she actually knew Miyagi. She was there when he was alive, and actually spent time with him.
Yeah, but he never had that with his son. Clearly, right up until the little tiny moment with his son at the final tournament at the end of the season 1. Where his son kind of just
gets into it.
This is cool. That's like the one little instance you get of his son being remotely into karate as opposed to playing on his
Yeah, and just eating and just being
Arbitrary
obnoxious and yeah.
video game system. Doesn't he
Someone
actually...
needs to kick that kid's ass. I'll do it.
You do it then. You do it. I think Johnny could do it. Could you get Johnny to do it? He likes
Yeah, he
beating
likes
up
to beat up
children.
kids.
We say that as though it's a good thing.
So we do have the next generation type characters. So we did talk about Samantha a little bit. How do we feel about Samantha?
I like Samantha.
Yeah.
I like Samantha.
My opinion of Samantha changes within each episode. It's kind of a strength of the whole show, I really feel, is that 1 minute you can be really rooting for a character, and the next you're like, whoa, you're going way too far here. And it kind of blurs that line between like hero and villain so much that it feels like what an actual teenage life is. Like, what some days you could be seen as the good guy, some days you're the bully, instead of it just being a black or white thing.
Yeah, like it was really hard to see her, Miguel's trying and he wants to meet her family, and her just not being able to just be like, she was honest with them about other things. And I just talked about how great it seemed like her relationship was, that she could talk to her parents. But Daniel has instilled so much hate about Cobra Kai into their family dynamic that she's afraid to even tell her family that she's dating somebody from Cobra Kai. So then, Miguel gets the sense that she's ashamed of him. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of frustration with Samantha, that she can't just like stand up to her dad or even just tell him, honestly, with such a great dynamic that they have, that she does like this guy and he is with Cobra Kai, but he's not, it's different. But for her to have so much fear with that, I think that speaks to what Daniel has kind of been holding on to himself for so long. Like we talked about Johnny holding on to, his past, and it's affected him today. Obviously, you think Daniel's doing so great, but in that moment, you kind of see, that stuff from the past has been affecting him too, to now it's trickling down to Sam, to where she's going to, put all that on Miguel and, not acknowledge him as her boyfriend. And that causes problems with their relationship.
It's a very unfortunate prejudice.
Yeah.
Which needs to be gotten over and isn't going to be gotten over anytime soon, realistically, is it? They're still going to have, even in the tiny little moments when you feel like Johnny and Daniel are somewhat bonding over seeing what Ali's doing now, and all making fun of Ali's new husband,
or singing the song they both like in the car. And yeah,
there is a unfortunate, just very obvious tension and judgment because due to the different styles of karate. What I found really, really interesting was, it's certainly more prevalent in the final tournament and in the final couple of episodes of season 1, is Johnny really going back on the no mercy thing. He still seems all about strike first, strike hard, but he's questioning no mercy now.
Yeah, he's kind of wants to just replace it with being badass. He says that a lot.
he's much more interested. Well, frankly, let's call it what it is. Johnny Lawrence is much more interested in people not being pussies. Is what he says, probably more than any other word.
Yeah.
Or loser. Or nerd, or various other things like that.
But we do see him, not want to play the games that Kreese plays, and win at all costs, good or bad, to your psyche, to your moral center. So we see that Johnny does have that.
Johnny still wants to win.
Yeah,
he still absolutely wants to win, but he doesn't want to win by cheating, which is a very honourable thing, really.
Yeah,
and that's. At the end of this series, it makes him very, very likable.
Yeah. So How do we feel about Miguel? Because Miguel's kind of this weird kind of both sides of the coin. He's kind of like the Daniel that becomes the Johnny.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about that? How do you feel about the Miguel character?
I love Miguel. Like, Miguel is, I think, a perfect protagonist for this kind of show. Like, instantly you see him as like this kind of nervous, dweeby kid, and then to see him grow confidence throughout so much is such a fun lesson. It's not just with karate. He grows confidence as a person. He's more like upfront with like wanting to ask a girl out on a date, and you can tell, and even in his body language, he's kind of walking around and strutting around a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, the moment where I figured I love Miguel was in the cafeteria scene where that bully is just coming up to him and Miguel just kicks his ass.
Yeah.
That was so freaking beautiful. And I will also add the actor is currently, I think, the front runner to play Blue Beetle in that movie that was announced like last month. I would like to see that after this.
Okay, nice. I think you've hit the scene right on the head there, Nolan. I think that particular scene where he beats up the bullies, including Samantha's dreadful boyfriend, in the cafeteria, is the peak scene of good-hearted Miguel in season 1, because it's after that he kind of a little bit, well, he gets a little bit jealous, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Because Samantha's hanging around with Robbie, and I can't really understand why he's getting jealous of Robbie. Robbie, of course, being Johnny's estranged son, because Robbie has a face that makes me want to hit him more than I want to hit Daniel LaRusso's son. Oh, God, that child's face.
In that sense, he feels like a real teenager, though. Like, it would have been...
That's a very fair point, Nolan. I do want to hit many teenagers. Well done. You've hit it right there.
Yeah, so you feel that's why I think that's why we all sympathize with Johnny, because we have at one time or another wanted to beat the shit out of a teenager.
But haven't been able to because it's not allowed.
Yes. It would have been so easy for them to just keep Miguel as this little saint for the whole thing, but the fact that they had the guts to go down that road of making him, he's kind of turning into a bit of a bad guy. That's just really good storytelling.
Yes, the fact that he kind of goes at Robbie like that at the end in the tournament and kind of just pulls these dirty moves, even though Johnny's kind of imploring him not to. After we've kind of been on his side and seen him as such a good person this whole time, even how he treats Sam at the party with the jealousy, and he kind of gets drunk and like pushes her and all of that.
He becomes someone you really, really don't like. And at the start, he's obviously he's almost the protagonist of the show. I know it's obviously Johnny, but you spend an awful lot of time with Miguel.
Yeah.
More than anyone else beside Johnny, really. And more than Daniel. You spend time with Miguel.
We get the Miyagi-Daniel relationship with Johnny and Miguel, and how that bond builds, and how, he's kind of like goofy, and Johnny's kind of using him to clean and do all these ridiculous things, but the bond
actually... Farrah's Mufana gets it.
But I mean, at the end of this season, I think you like Robbie. You have respect for him of how, he fought and how he does build that relationship with Daniel. And so then Daniel and Robbie end up starting to have this Miyagi-Daniel relationship.
That's true. At
the start when he's doing all these bad things, and his smarmy, smug little face.
Take Robbie and put him back in that 90s Joss Whedon show that he came from. Literally, that's the vibe I get from him.
He just seems like every popular teenager on every Disney Channel show from the mid 2000s, who the Hannah Montana or the whoever it was wouldn't quite like them because they were a bit too.
Are you saying he's Jake Ryan?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
I can't believe we're pulling out Hannah Montana references. That is awesome.
I don't know where that came from. I was just thinking of a random mid-2000s Disney Channel show. To be honest with you. But he's a little bit of a Jake Ryan, isn't he? Where he's ultimately seems a little bit terrible, but he's kind of nice, but his face is just annoying, and that's an insult to the actor. And I apologize to him. He can't help his face.
But I mean, he also is a product of his environment. Like, he obviously doesn't have Johnny around. His mom is just kind of leaving him alone and going out on these dates. And even when he makes plans, like to like cook food and like hang out with her, he's like, "I got your favorite frozen pizza, Mom, and let's watch this movie together." She's like, "Oh no, I'm going out on a date." you know? So like he tries, but he just
He
doesn't
does.
have, you know, he has nothing else. So he's just going to be causing trouble. And even when he had the chance to do, you know, really work with Daniel just to get back at his dad, he ends up actually really liking that job and wanting to do well and working with Daniel and having so much respect for them and that whole family. So there are glimmers, I think, strong glimmers of Robbie not being completely terrible.
No, definitely by the end of the season, you do quite like Robbie, to be honest.
So it's kind of weird because I think they're kind of messing with you a little bit. Like you're supposed to kind of see Robbie as the Johnny and Miguel as Daniel, and then by the end of the season they kind of switch it on you, which is, I think, really clever.
It is very clever. It really is very clever. That is the smartest thing about the whole show, is the ability to flip all these character tropes in on themselves.
It's not
don't expect it.
The best thing is not us promoting violence towards teenagers, although Ferris says he's okay with that because teenagers suck. So thank you, Ferris.
Robbie acts like the villain from the movie Brink, says Faraz Muthano.
Yes.
What is that movie? I don't think
it is a teenage skateboarding movie, like a Disney original. It's a original Disney Channel movie about skateboarding. Yeah.
Makes total sense, Faraz. I like Faraz. We all like Faraz Muthano.
He kind of reminds me of that. There is another Disney Channel original movie he reminds me of. It's like Johnny Kahlua back on board. It's like some surfer type thing.
Oh, Johnny Tsunami.
I think
Johnny
so. It might be something like
Tsunami
that.
Sounds a bit extreme. Why don't we just call him Johnny Earth-Shattering Volcano? Johnny.
Honestly, I think
disaster.
if Johnny had the chance, he would name his dojo that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I think the last character that's kind of a big one is Hawk.
Hawk. Look.
Is someone gonna make the Hawk sound?
No. You can try. You can try. Hawk is he's what Miguel would have been if Miguel didn't have a brain.
Well, I mean, we do see what he goes through. He has a cleft lip, and he constantly gets teased and made fun of, and like the teacher calling that out in front of the whole school,
which is horrible.
So embarrassing. And he takes Johnny's words to heart, like flip the script and like don't accept what people think about you, and make them see you differently.
To be fair, he does. He completely does. He completely changes, and I think he actually changes. Well, he's way more. He feels himself, doesn't he? He loves himself, which he has so much confidence.
Yeah, that he never had before.
Such a significant change for him that you really feel good for him.
Yeah,
you're very, very happy for him. But he is the most violent one. He ends up being the most violent of all the Cobra Kai karate students, which is I hope in season 2, Johnny's kind of beating them all down again and just like, calm down, guys. We're not doing the no mercy thing anymore.
Yeah.
So
I did, after watching the 4th film, I did come up with a bit of an epiphany.
Oh, this will be good.
Oh, yes, you did.
We did watch the next Karate Kid. And, all of these movies have come up in some way or another in these 3 seasons that we've seen. But there has been nothing about Julie from the next Karate Kid, which is canon because Miyake is in it and he mentions Daniel and all of these things. So there's a big random ass plot point in the next Karate Kid where Julie is taking care of a hawk, right? So is the character of Hawk just a reference to Julie? Like, is that the Julie reference that we're getting subtly? Which somebody also, when I tweeted that, somebody jumped off of that and said, okay, so Hilary Swank is coming in as Hawk's aunt in season 4.
I would love that.
I'm calling it.
I haven't even seen season 2 and 3 yet, and I'm into
Yes.
I can speak a lot about Hawk here, and Morgan, I know you're probably going to judge me for this, but I think Hawk's probably my favorite character on the show.
he's just very aggressive, Nolan.
From a writing standpoint, he is the most interesting one out of all of them, I feel. I feel if he hadn't got to Cobra Kai with all that pent up anger he has, he probably would have become a school shooter. So,
well, something would have gone pretty badly.
Yeah, with him.
You feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and it does
I can
speak.
see that.
It speaks to this whole thing that I think Cobra Kai does really well when it talks about political correctness. Now, obviously, I don't agree with everything that they say about it. Obviously, Johnny's still a little bit bigoted and he says things that are out of touch.
Yeah.
But the way that these teachers clearly don't know how to handle these discussions is shown perfectly because they make these kids who are bullied more targets.
Yes, the fact that she's in this assembly and she's over here, one kid with a messed up lip, like obviously
dreadful
that's what you're talking about.
And it's so obnoxious as well. Like when they're talking about the Halloween costumes, it's like, oh, instead of nurse, how about gender neutral hospital worker? And that's the kind of performative wokeness that I hate because it does not help anybody.
Everybody hates that.
It makes these kids more of targets. They're not respecting you for it. And I love that Cobra Kai kind of uses that and kind of spits in the face like, okay, yeah, we're not going to be complete dicks and obviously be like racist and bigoted and everything, but we're also not fucking children. Like, don't talk to us like that.
Yeah.
Justin is a square in the chat says, really? Daniel's son is clearly the most interesting character on the show and the real star. Now, that might be true in season 2 and 3. I don't know. Justin is a square. I don't know. So perhaps that is true.
Yeah, that's a definitely hot take right there.
But I hope we're not going into spoilers. I feel like I'm underperforming.
Yes, Ferris loves Hawk. He will not accept any Hawk slander.
I don't not like Hawk.
If there was a Hawk Funko Pop, I would buy it.
I like Hawk. I appreciate Hawk. Hawk does certainly have an incredibly interesting story and is definitely the most changed out of everybody here.
Eli.
I don't know where he finds the aggressive energy from just because I don't have that. My energy in Cobra Kai is more along the lines of but I don't think anybody really, because everybody's a little bit too energetic for me. Maybe Dimitri.
You have Dimitri energy.
Yeah. But
I would be mad at that if I didn't know what
pathetic.
happens to Dimitri later on.
Yeah.
Well, okay, well, spoilery.
Because in season 1, honestly, Dimitri's just an obnoxious dweeb.
He's just very annoying.
He's very annoying. He's quite pathetic.
Yeah.
Puts
his neuroses on everybody. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, he does. It's unnecessary, the kind of stuff he does. But Miguel and Hawk are certainly very, very interesting as the teenage boys in the situation. But yeah, I like Samantha and Nicole / Aisha as well.
Yeah, that whole dynamic of
Nicole who's Nicole?
Aisha also has a great arc going forward, gaining confidence and becoming more independent, standing up for herself. I love seeing that in teenage stories.
You see that even so in this first season.
Yeah, where she's trying to play that middle ground of like, she still wants to be friends with Samantha, but she's also like very into Cobra Kai and what they do, and standing up for herself against these terrible girls, and
who are terrible.
Yeah, and Samantha actually like still trying to be friends with Aisha despite. She sees maybe moments where she neglected Aisha wrong, and so she tries to like rectify those things. Yeah. So you appreciate that about that whole dynamic, and I think that kind of builds both of their characters.
It's very, very, very interesting though. Everybody is there's not a character really that's not in one way or another pretty well written and well interesting.
Yeah.
It's all very, very cleverly done. I think I've titled this video as Cobra Kai: The Perfect Return because I really think it is the perfect return to the world of the Karate Kid. You couldn't I mean, you could have done it in a different way. 100% you could have done it in a different way. But this is the most interesting way you could have done it.
Yes. So
100%.
with that, let's get more into the story elements of the show.
Okay.
What were some of your favorite story moments that kind of built off of the show? Or the movies that built off of the movies?
Oh. What I love, and it's something that they do through in the other seasons as well. Everyone, when the show was announced, even in the marketing and everything, they always wanted Daniel and Johnny to have a rematch. And that scene where Johnny shows up at Danny's house, no word of a lie, I was on the edge of my seat for the whole thing. And then what I find so funny is they give you that, and then immediately Daniel's wife comes out and de-escalates the whole situation, but there's still like clear tension between them.
Yes.
Even when they're at the breakfast table, aggressively
and just using the salt. Yeah. And like slamming the salt. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you want to come inside? Yeah, I could eat.
I did like that. You feel like at some point, well, I look, this is me talking, having not seen season 2 and 3. You feel like at some point there's going to be some sort of showdown between the two figureheads, shall we say. Whether it comes or not, whether it's the final ever episode of Cobra Kai, I don't know. I don't know anything that happens. Total speculation is going on here. Faraz says, no, I haven't watched season 2 and season 3. That's coming next week and the week after on here on the channel. I hope I am in for a treat there. But, I mean, the show's protagonist is Johnny, and the story of Johnny Lawrence, from where we meet him at the start of Cobra Kai to where he ends up at the end, Cobra Kai Dojo back up and running, the fact that he's taken that completely, in his heart now. He is the new figurehead of this institution. As far as he's concerned, this is a, decades old institution, and he wants to uphold that legacy.
But also do it in his own way.
Exactly. Make it his own. Wants to forget about Kreese, really, which is what's so interesting about Kreese and his chomping cigar coming in right at the end of the thing. Martin Cove looking decidingly evil. Somehow I get the feeling Kreese is going to be even more evil in the show than he is in the movies. Maybe Terry Silver comes back. I don't know. I hate Terry Silver, by the way, guys. Don't know if you could see. Yes. But I don't know. But I really like. I just really like Johnny's story of being so down, being so nothing,
and finding purpose again.
Finding purpose again, almost being forced into it, almost, but finding that purpose again. And by the end, you are really, really rooting for him. And the fact that you can see he's changed so much from he is now the teacher or the sensei of Cobra Kai, and the students are the ones that are going overboard as opposed to him, and how his relationship was with Kreese, the change there is the most interesting thing for me in the show so far, definitely. Yeah. Daniel, I don't think has had too much of an arc yet, but he's obviously starting to get, Miyagi-Do back up and running, which is obviously interesting.
He rediscovers, his love of that and wanting to bring that up and going once he sees what Johnny's doing. But I feel like, he still won't let himself believe that Johnny could be doing Cobra Kai in a different way. He still has so much built up, resentment and hurt from all of that he only sees it as negative and toxic.
It's striking, really, how different Johnny and Daniel think of each other's karate.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, Johnny doesn't have a problem with Miyagi-Do. Ultimately, he has a problem with Daniel because Daniel beat him, and there was it was a girlfriend situation, and the whole first movie relationship of those two, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there's not in any of the Karate Kid movies or the show so far is Johnny Lawrence going, I don't like Miyagi. There is all the time Daniel going, I don't like Cobra Kai. So it's quite one-sided prejudice, really, because it's a very specific person Johnny doesn't like, but it's a whole system.
Yeah, we see him draw. We see him draw a big dick on Daniel's face.
We do, and that's just Daniel. That's not, he's not doing it on Miyagi, is he? He's not doing it on. He's not desecrating the grave of Miyagi or any nonsense, horrible thing like that.
Which Justin does say he appreciates how they have made Pat Morita feel like such a huge part of the show, even though he's not there.
They really have.
Yeah. Like we do see Daniel visit his grave and putting up pictures and all, the banners of like
wishing for his wisdom and all that sort of stuff. He really, really does. That's what I mean. I assume Daniel's karate journey and carrying on the Miyagi legacy is going to continue quite well into season 2 and 3. I don't know, obviously, but Johnny's continuing the legacy of his own karate is certainly more prevalent and it will be in a show called Cobra Kai. So it makes total sense. But as a story, you are most interested in those two. But the coming of age aspect of it with the teenagers is very interesting as well.
Yeah, and the whole callback of like, Miguel and Sam's date being pretty much the same date that, Allie and Daniel went on the same place and, the same kind of montage, the same song.
Yeah.
And we do get to see some of Sam's kind of karate skills as well. So I like that where that leads. So I'm excited for you to see kind of where all of that goes with her character potentially getting back into Miyagi-Do and all of that.
Yeah, definitely. I love that Sam's kind of found it again now after almost, we meet her and she's almost kind of lost in this popularity clique and circle and all that. And she kind of finds herself back. Almost, she's lost herself and she returns back to where her heart truly lies, which is, karate, which is what the whole thing's all about.
Yeah.
There is another scene that I feel I should bring up.
Please do, Noah.
Yes.
So I think the best scene in the original Karate Kid is when Miyagi and Daniel's like doing all the work and everything and they're just getting frustrated, and then you finally see, without Miyagi saying anything, that he's been teaching him all these karate moves and like he's been learning even if he doesn't know it. And I love the way that they play that in this show with Daniel being like, both lots, and then you get that moment where Robbie and Danny are doing the same thing that him and Miyagi did. And just from the look on Robbie's face, I'll give the credit to the actor for this. The way it goes from just this kind of awe and wonder and just turning into this newfound respect for Daniel is something that I've always loved about the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
This show takes intertextuality and does it well. Like, unlike other franchises where they'll use callbacks to other movies kind of as dramatic substitutes, this show takes them and twists them into the context of the show, and it gives them new meaning. So that's something I feel like a lot of these throwback continuations of franchises could learn. And maybe I'll get hate for this. I almost wish that this show had came out before the new Star Wars movies had done, because they could have taken a few writing lessons from this, I feel.
Yeah, definitely with the legacy vibes and continuing the story in a realistic way. And like we've talked about a lot, just kind of making these characters feel real with, gray areas and not all being good and not all being bad. There's kind of both sides in everybody, which is definitely a huge, theme in Star Wars. So definitely they could have taken some lessons from this for sure.
Look, the whole show of Cobra Kai, it started on YouTube, didn't it? It started on YouTube Premium.
Red. Mm-hmm.
This is not a cash grab. This is not a plea for money, like something like the Star Wars sequels were, which ultimately they were. Let's call it what it is. Might have been good, but ultimately that's what they were. This is purely done out of love for the Karate Kid, and you can tell with every frame of it, and every little writing decision, every little story beat, every little character beat. This is all out love for those movies and what they were saying, and creative enough to be its own thing as well.
Yeah.
It's mirrored quite well in what Johnny's doing with Cobra Kai, what Daniel's going to start doing with Miyagi-Do, is it's carrying on a legacy, but spinning it in your own way, which is what every legacy sequel should do, and some just don't do it. Some are just there to go, remember that? Remember that from ages ago? Yeah, that was cool, wasn't it? What are we going to do? Oh, we're going to do that again. No, do something new. No, we're going to do that again. Everybody liked that. Well, no, but they don't like this, do they? Look at it. It's trash.
But
they
they're
love
also
Cobra Kai because it's unique. It's its own thing.
While still bringing in that nostalgia and the moments
it
and
loves its
callbacks.
legacy.
So they definitely pay attention to what happened in the movies and bring those things in while also doing their own thing, which Patrick says in the chat, oh no, the creators of Cobra Kai are on record calling Karate Kid their Star Wars.
Patrick, you're on fire.
Yes.
Patrick, you are on fire.
He also doesn't think people should go to the mini golf place anymore because it's too much drama.
I like mini golf, Patrick. Let's not have any... Or is this just that particular mini golf and stuff, as I believe it's called?
We know how I feel about golf.
Why do you not like mini golf now?
I like mini golf. I don't like real golf.
Well, this is mini golf. This isn't real golf. If they were going playing a full 18 somewhere, I'd be concerned.
Can you imagine how long that's
not really a date. That's not really a date. Let's go to St Andrews and play a full 18 on the open. No, let's not do that. I love that I can tell that it's got so much dedication behind it. And because there's so many little in-jokes in there as well, that me having watched the Karate Kid movies so recently, just kind of get them all and kind of see them all and all the little references, and it's just
going to be even more. So I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I love it
too, because there's a lot more coming.
Morgan, honestly, the show just gets better.
This is great. Then it's just very, very detailed, and for something that's not overly long, the episodes are 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
It goes so smooth. I literally put on season 3 like as soon as it came out, and I think I was up until like 5 a.m. just watching them, and didn't even realize the passage of time because it was just so great.
It works on a binge as well. It does work on a binge. I don't necessarily think it would do phenomenally as a weekly as opposed to a binge, because I don't think
you're not getting enough each time, I think.
No, and it's got the fluidness to just kind of go straight into the next way through.
Because you did like your season 1 watch within like a couple days. Like,
if that,
like a day and a half.
Yeah. I wanted to start season 2, but kind of stopped myself because I knew it was gonna. I could have done quite easily.
Yes,
but it would have been too long. While we would, and it would have muddled these whole discussions that we're doing. But I that's arguably my favorite part about the whole show so far, is that I can just tell that the guys making it are in love with the Karate Kid, and the slightly not I suppose not interesting, but kind of convenient mirroring of its own journey with the journey of Johnny and Daniel as well.
Yes.
Which is it might be a writing decision to just be quite smart, but also just might be a nice little point.
Yeah. So to close out our discussion, you have yet to see seasons 2 or 3, so these things that you say may actually happen. But what are some things that you hope to see that are kind of callbacks to the movies that you hope to maybe see incorporated in the show?
Or what we want, as I've
Yes.
called it there.
Yes. So I already said
right.
mine of Aunt Julie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nolan,
Taking
what?
care of her hawk.
Okay. What I want, and it's the most bizarre thing ever, but if they could pull it off, then it will make that movie worth it for me. I want to see a story arc where Jaden Smith's character from the remake of The Karate Kid shows up and everyone tells him, "You did not learn karate, you learned kung fu, sir." And with how Jaden Smith acts, like just in public now, I think it would be a really fun dynamic. I think he would work with the teenage cast really well.
And Will Smith is always on there as a producer, so I mean,
yeah. I mean, maybe you get Will Smith on there
his name in the
starting
credits as a producer. Yeah,
you can get Will Smith on there starting Smith Doe, and then it's just Jaden that shows up.
What do they teach in Smith Doe?
Memory erasing, the Wild Wild West. I'm just listing off Will Smith movies now.
How to be the Fresh Prince.
How do you become? Their motto will be legend.
Obviously, God. Oh dear.
Signature move is the Gemini Man. I could go all day.
Oh no.
Not Gemini Man, Nolan. Come on. Come on.
Of all the things that man has done, you really just had to throw a Gemini Man in there.
Even Patrick says what we might get is him getting disqualified from the first round of the next.
No, yeah, that's possible. That's possible.
Instead of waxing on and waxing off, he shows people how to whale wash.
Oh, and pick up the jacket and everything. I don't know if you've seen the remake of The Karate Kid recently.
Whale wash from Shark Tale.
Janine throwing a Shark Tale reference in there. I love it.
I had to.
Also, one thing I do want, this isn't so much with Cobra Kai, but imagine if they took like the 80s movies that we love and gave them the Cobra Kai treatment for like a series. Like imagine a Breakfast Club continuation where you see all the kids coming back to that school. Like John Bender's maybe the janitor or something. Molly Ringwald's the principal. Legitimately, you could do something really good with that if you got someone who loved those stories as much as they love it.
I think you make a good point there. I think a high school reunion of the Breakfast Club could be phenomenal. It could be trash, but it could be phenomenal.
Yes.
If you got someone with as much love as these guys show for Karate Kid and Cobra Kai for the Breakfast Club, absolutely.
I just want to see Anthony Michael Hall get more work.
You love Anthony Michael Hall. What I want from the right, so I know Kreese is back, right? I know Kreese is back. Mm-hmm. What I want is for Johnny Lawrence to smack Sensei Kreese in the face. Easy. I think that's
all you want
to happen. No, that's one. That's one thing.
Okay.
I just think that's kind of relatively likely to happen. So I'd be into that. I want maybe Kreese to kind of pull some sort of manipulation where he's trying to maybe get back involved or start up his own situation again that's kind of a third rival or something like that, but just kind of gets beat down quickly because nobody likes Kreese. Get out. Kick him. Kick Kreese. I want to see more hating of Terry Silver. I couldn't find another Ian R, by the way, so I had to call him Terry Silver like he's Spanish. He's not Spanish.
I mean, I think he's trying to be with that ponytail. But...
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. But I want to hear more kind of Terry Silver. Who's that weirdo? You know, I want to hear more of that from everybody, really. From everybody.
Yelling at his secretary from his hot tub.
Yeah, absolutely everybody. I want to hear that. And I'm with you, Janine. I would get Hilary Swank involved. She was like the one of three legitimately watchable parts of the next Karate Kid. So get her involved. And
Jedi Ghost Miyagi can't happen as much as you want it to.
See, I was going to say that, but no. I would think. Well, I can see it happening. Is a full Miyagi-Do school, and just a big face-off at some point, just an absolute monster kind of battle, but a very honourable karate because they both now want to fight with no dirty tricks. But
You
it's
want
just
like
an
the
absolute top draw best versus the best.
you
karate.
want like the Avengers Endgame, Return of the King, Justice League Final Battle equivalent for Cobra Kai.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. Justin is a square. So why do you hate Terry? Why do you think I hate Terry Silver? Justin is a square. Look at Terry Silver. Why do you think I hate him?
He was just a ridiculously cartoonish villain. So to have him come back in some capacity.
The fact that he also made Kreese more cartoonish. In The Karate Kid Part 3, Kreese pops out of the shadows like some sort of Halloween creature going, ah!
With a cigar.
What's he doing? That's not what he does at the end of season 1 of Cobra Kai. He comes in through the shadows.
Yes.
And acts all cool and Kreese-like about it. But no, he's just taking on Terry Silver's manic way of doing things in part 3. It is the ponytail. It is the ponytail, Justin. It's a square. It is. I'm not going to lie to you. But it's not just the ponytail. I don't inherently hate ponytails. Nolan's doing a ponytail now. I don't inherently hate ponytails. But I hate
You're
ponytails.
not in a hot tub yelling at your secretary. So.
No, I hate ponytails on smarmy men.
Yeah.
Get out Terry Silver. I hate Terry Silver. No one actually looks like Terry Silver. I feel sick.
Yeah, you definitely rock a ponytail better than Terry Silver.
Terry Silver. Terry Silver, brother of Tiago Silva. He's not even Spanish.
Would you like it more if I did a top knot, Morgan, or would you hate me more?
I would like that more, to be honest with you, Nolan. But yes, Janine, that is what I'm looking for from upcoming Cobra Kai.
Awesome.
Or Cobra K, as some people call it, and Johnny has to kick them.
Yes. So yeah, you overall enjoyed the season. You
Absolutely.
liked all of the incorporations of the movies.
Way better than the last 2 movies. Even though part 3 was okay.
Yes.
It was okay. The next Karate Kid was barely watchable. If Pat Morita wasn't there, I would have struggled.
Yes.
I really
but we do want to see Julie potentially come back.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe we'll get that.
Up for that.
So,
bring Hilary Swank back.
Great. So we will be back next week, probably on Monday next week.
Yeah.
With another conversation about season 2 of Cobra Kai after you've watched it. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. And thank you so much for joining us, Nolan.
Yes,
I'm happy to be
Nolan.
here. And if Morgan can stomach it, I'll happily come back next Monday.
Well,
yes.
I think that sounds perfect. I think that sounds exactly what we should be doing. Thank you guys for watching this nice live discussion today on Cobra Kai Season 1. This was a blast. I loved this. More of these, Janine.
Yes.
More of these kind of things.
Thank you, everyone who came and hung out in the chat as well.
Yes, definitely. We will have all our Twitters and social medias back on the screen now. There they are, if you would like to follow us over there. This channel, the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel, like and subscribe here for all the fun stuff we do here, the watch-alongs, our own little video series things that we've got going on, Janine. More discussions like this. It won't all be Cobra Kai. That would be a little bit excessive, but it would be various things, many things. Patrick's already getting excited about Twitter. That's good. That's nice of Patrick. There you go. what else do we have, Janine? We have the It's a Wonderful Podcast Patreon, of
We
course,
do.
where you can go and support us over there if you're feeling particularly generous. There is a link in the description of this video or just on the YouTube homepage as well to that if you are feeling particularly generous and want to go and support us over there. The It's a Wonderful Podcast feed itself, though, is where we live mainly, isn't it, guys? That is Machine Mondays every Monday with Janine the Machine. What's going on there, Janine?
I'm just talking all things Schmodown, lots of matches, including some of my own, and some big events coming up. So stay tuned for that every Monday, just talking Schmodown with you guys.
We have Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday. That's where Janine and forces me to watch things I haven't seen. That's where this came from. A Morgan Hasn't Seen series on the Karate Kid. At the minute, we're doing time loop movies. Well, that'll be what's coming next. So there you go. Keep an eye out for that as well on Morgan Hasn't Seen. And Nolan, we also have It's a Wonderful Podcast, the main show itself. What do we do there?
We talk about classic movies from before 1980 now with the ways we bent the rules.
Well, bendy rules are bendy rules, Nolan.
I basically come on that show bi-weekly and I annoy Morgan and for an hour until he tells me to go away. We talk all the classic movies there. We were just doing Pre-Code March there with Blonde Crazy.
Yeah.
We probably should have been talking the original Godzilla versus King Kong, but we did Blonde Crazy instead. Godzilla v. Kong might come another time, but I love doing that show. I've been with it for 3 years now, and it keeps getting better every time we do it. It's a great little thing we've set up here.
It is. There you go. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have you covered on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed. Find it everywhere podcasts are found. There are plenty of links on this YouTube to go and find it. But Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Castbox, you'll find it everywhere you find your podcasts. And this channel, which is where we are right now. Please sub over here. Share it around. Like, leave your comments, all the nice stuff that people like to do on YouTube. Because... that would be very nice, and we would love you forever. We would love you much like Daniel LaRusso loves Miyagi. What is Miyagi's last name? Is it Miyagi?
Miyagi. Yeah.
Or is that his first name?
He's Mr. Miyagi.
But he is Mr. Miyagi. Miyagi. His name is Miyagi. His name's not Miyagi. They said on his gravestone, I was supposed to remember it, and I forgot it. Fool that I am.
You'll know it for the next one. We'll know it for the next one.
We will know it for the next one. There we go. Janine, do you want to do our nice little special send-off?
Yes.
Go ahead then.
3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye.